when to step in. Is there a time? Must someone wait? What if they're not doing steps? When is a good time to do that? And I'm thinking along the way, certainly if you have that moment of clarity where it turns, I always say it turns a corner and something becomes, oh, there's a whole nother side here. That's beautiful. And I want to say optimal, but I wouldn't want someone waiting. That again puts someone in the partner in particular into a powerless place.
Don't you think though? Because I don't think it's an all or nothing. I hear what you're saying, Jeannie, because that could take for someone to get it could take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And but I do think like okay, two things. Two things. So hopefully won't contradict itself. But if you think of if the amends process in the 12 steps starts at step 9, I mean this person's gone through to that point, understanding, that their life has become unmanageable and that their behaviors are powerless, that the power greater than themselves can restore them to sanity. They've turned their life and will over to that higher power. They've done a searching and fearless moral inventory. They've shared this with others. They've looked at deep into their character defects. They're working on those character defects. Only then do they start to realize now I'm going to do the work on who have I harmed because of my behaviors and who I became. So that, I mean, how long does that take for someone to do? A long time. Does that mean that we just wait till that point? Hopefully they're changing along the way. To me, that's where, so that I think that's a model of where maybe the formal process of an amends might come is later. But what does, I think like a living amends, what does that look like along the
Mm-hmm.
way? I mean, maybe the person hasn't turned the corner and they're not, getting it quite yet, but they're actively showing up. They're committed to their own healing, and they're trying to understand. Maybe they don't get it, but they're trying to read books or listen to podcasts, or they're not just waiting to be told what to do. They're actually taking initiative. They're not, they're working on their shame resilience. They're doing all these things that um demonstrate that they're really trying to do it. And maybe it's still a foreign language and it's not fully there, but I think there's a difference between someone when I've seen someone that's half-heartedly trying
Mm.
versus someone who is a bit clueless, but they're really working hard. I think the partner can see it, even if they're not quite what they fully want or need or deserve at that point. I think there might be something to living amends that they're owning along the way.
I think you just did a really, really beautiful job of outlining what good recovery looks like. You just listed these characteristics. And even though someone may not be at their ninth step or hasn't really, quote, got it, you're outlining good recovery actions and behaviors, attitudes that help a person on that process and on that journey. So for listeners, go back, just hit the rewind button for about 10 seconds. And Dan just gave those really beautifully.
Which is a humble action. It's a state of
It,
humility of saying, instead of,
exactly.
well, I'll give you my amends when I'm to my ninth step. Well,
Oh,
that's
no,
not the attitude that I want. I
no,
don't want to hear
no.
that. There's been an injustice. I've done these harms, and I'm going to work my butt off to try and heal and repair and restore our relationship because of my actions.
So here's my challenge. What if someone who's in recovery is not doing 12 steps? They're not doing the 12-step program.
They don't have to. I don't think they're. I think there's
A lot
crossover.
of
I
people
don't think you have
don't.
to. I
Right.
My
Well,
own 2 cents. I think and I understand people have issues higher power sometimes. They don't quite get that the spiritual side of the program.
right.
I personally think working the 12 steps helps anybody be a better human,
Hmm.
um, addict or not. But that's just my own two
Right.
cents. Forget the
No, I'm
addiction
with you
side of
on
it.
that.
Well,
But
so
yeah,
yeah, so here's the pieces. We're using the word amend to make amends, and some of our listeners might be understand what that means or be familiar with that, and others may not. And so when we're talking about making amends, we take the word mend, right? To like sew something up or to heal something. Like what are we trying to do when we're making amends?
Is that a question or is that
The question.
no, I'm going to go with your sewing metaphor, right? Well, I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to go with your sewing metaphor because, because for me, it's a stepping into accountability. It's stepping into acknowledgement of harm and impact that your behavior has caused to others.